space. This meeting.
Hey everyone, this is Grace from Grace Blind Tech, and in this video I'm going to explain how to create a Mac OS virtual machine on a Windows host using VMware. You will need a few things for this: a VMware Tools ISO, a Mac OS ISO, a folder called Mac OS VM All You Need, and VMware. I will link all of these in the description. I'd also like to apologize for all the construction noises going on. I also will probably have to pause the recording a lot, but that is okay. We're just going to go with it. Okay, so how do you do this? The first thing is, what I'm showing is not for AMD CPUs. It's for more Intel CPUs. It can be done with AMD, I think, but I'm not quite sure how to do it. So this is for Intel CPUs only. The good news is a lot of CPUs these days are Intel CPUs. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is find the zipped folder.
VMware window.
That is called, where is it?
Mac OS VM. All you need. Check 12 of 30.
Mac OS VM, all you need. Shift F10 on it.
Context menu.
And unzip it.
Open and share. Extract scan with extract all.
Extract all.
Extract compress browse. Show extract button completes the wizard alt plus E. Unavailable. Cancel but 1% complete. Copying for
This is going to take a very, very long time.
VMware row 1
So
VMware
what
window.
I'm going to
Extract 7%
go ahead
complete.
and
Meeting controls.
do
Meet dock to bottom. More drop down button.
is pause the recording.
11 menu. Pause recording. Alt plus and pause record. Suspend this.
Okay, that is now finished. So now we have our folder.
VMware window. Item. Linux Mint 20. Android 8. Mac OS VM. All you need. Check 2 of 31.
Right there. Okay, so now the next thing you need to do, if you haven't done it already, is install VMware Player. I have done this, so I do not need to show this step. If you would like to see this step in a YouTube video, just comment down below and I will do this. Okay, now let's get to the fun part. Now open up the folder Mac OS VM All You Need.zip. Or not .zip, the one we extracted.
Mac OS VM. All you need. Items view list. Mac OS Unlocker tool not selected, not checked 1 of 4.
This is the Mac OS Unlocker tool. This is some code that tells VMware, hey, did you know that you can install Mac OS? So, hit enter on this folder and you will see a bunch of files.
Mac OS. Items view list. Backup not selected, not checked 1 of 22.
What you need to do now is select all of the files. I have already done this step. You just hit Control A and then C to copy them. Now,
Start window.
open up your Start menu and look for your VMware app.
VMware Workstation 16 player app. Press right.
That's mine. Shift F10 on it.
Bin document. Run as uninstall not selected.
Look for the
Run as
option
open file location not
that
selected.
says Open File Location. Hit enter on that.
VMware window. VMware Workstation Pro checked 4 of 4. VMware Workstation 16 player checked 3.
Look for the VMware 16 player or whichever version you have and hit enter on that.
VMware Workstation Home 1 of 9.
That was not supposed to happen.
VMware
it was
window.
not
VMware
supposed to
Workstation.
open.
VMware Workstation 16 player checked 3 of 4.
So if yours says that too, exit out of that.
Context menu.
Shift F10 on the folder.
Open O. Move to 1. Scan with advanced open file location I.
And hit Open File Location.
VMware Workstation window.
Now you should see all of VMware's files. Go ahead and paste in those 22 files you selected and hit W until you hear
W. Windows checked 132. W. Win install checked 133 of 140.
Win install. This stands for Windows Install and will install the Windows patch into VMware. Shift F10 on it like this.
Context menu.
And look
Open O.
for
Edit E. Print P. Run as administrator.
Run as administrator. You should be good from there. I won't do this step because I've already done it, and doing it twice might break VMware. So I'm just going to close out of this.
Mac OS Unlocker tool window. Items view list. Backup not selected, not checked 1 of 22. Backup not select. Items view list.
Okay, so the next step is to open VMware.
Folder view list. Recycle bin check. VMware Workstation 16 player checkbox check 2 of 3.
Hit enter on that. Or wherever yours is.
VMware Windows Home 1 of 9.
So, what we need to do now is create the Mac OS virtual machine. So, hit Control-N to create a new machine.
New virtual machine wizard dialog. Dialog install from. I will install the operating system later. Radio button checked. Alt+S.
When it asks, just say, I will install the operating system later.
Help button. Next greater button.
Tab to
Alt+N.
next and hit enter.
Unavailable. Dialog. Guest operating system grouping. Apple Mac OS 10 radio button checked. Alt+M.
Yours might say something different. So, arrow up and down until you hear Apple Mac OS 10.
Version grouping. Version combo box Mac OS 10.14 collapsed. Alt+V.
For the version, for best experience, you also want Mac OS 10.14. Again, yours might say something different, but just arrow up and down until you have Mac OS 10.14.
Help button. Less back button. Next greater button. Alt+N.
Now, I'm going to go to the next button.
Unavailable. Dialog. Virtual machine name. Edit Alt+V selected Mac OS 10.14. 2.
I'm going to change
Blank.
this
2. Selected.
to
Space.
Mac OS
Selection removed.
10.14 Grace Blind
R.
Tech.
Locate virtual machine name. Edit Alt+V selected Mac OS 10.14 for Grace Blind Tech. Browse. Less back. Next greater button.
Now,
Alt+N.
hit next.
Unavailable. Property page. The virtual machine's hard disk is stored as one or more files on split virtual disk.
Make sure that
Store virtual disk as a single file. Radio button checked. Alt+O.
is checked.
Maximum disk size. GB. Edit Alt+S selected 40.0.
And it doesn't matter how much disk space you give it because you're going to be deleting this later.
Store help but less back. Next greater. Unavailable. Dialog. The virtual machine. Customize hardware.
Now customize
Hardware
your
dialog.
hardware.
Processors. Processors
I'm
grouping.
gonna give it
List.
7
Help button.
cores
List.
and-
Memory. Property. MB slider 662. 72. Memory 77. List. Memory. Summary. 8 gigabytes 1. Memory. List. Memory. Summary. 8.6 gigabytes 1 of 7.
gigabytes. Yours is going to be different depending on the resources you have. To find out more about this step, watch my Linux video.
MB add. Close button. Help button. Close button.
Tab to the close button.
New
hit
virtual.
enter.
Less back but finish button.
Tab to the finish button.
Unavailable.
hit
VMware
enter,
Workstation 16 player. List. Mac OS 10.
and you're almost done. Now, don't power it on quite yet.
Virtual edit virtual
because you
machine
have to
settings
edit
button
some
Alt+D.
settings. So tab to edit virtual machine settings and hit enter.
Unavailable. Virtual machine settings.
Now, hit down arrow until you hear
Hard disk. SATA. Summary. 40 gigabytes 3 of 8.
this. Now, shift tab or tab until you hear
Compact add. But remove button Alt+R.
remove. Now, hit enter on that.
Device status grouping.
Now.
Connection grouping. Combo add. Remove add.
Tab
Button
until you
Alt+R.
hear add.
Add hardware wizard dialog. See hard disk 1 of 10.
In this drop-down, choose hard disk.
Property page. Recommended. Virtual disk type grouping. SATA radio button checked.
SATA is
Less back
correct.
but next greater button Alt+N.
Tab to next and hit enter.
Unavailable. Property page. A virtual disk is composed of one or more files on the host file system, which will appear as a single hard disk to the guest operating system. Virtual disks can easily be copied or moved on the same host or between hosts. Choose this option to reuse a previously configured disk. Less back button Alt. Property page.
So, on this, look for the option that says
Use an existing virtual disk radio button checked Alt+E.
that. Do this by hitting the down arrow key.
Less space. This add
Recording
hard.
in progress.
Sorry about that. My recording app, which I'm using Zoom for this, crashed, and I thought I lost my video, but I only lost about 5 seconds of it, so I'm good. So anyway, use the down arrow key until you
Less
find
back.
where.
Property page. A virtual disk is less back button. Cancel button. Property page. A virtual disk is composed of what you use an existing virtual disk radio.
Use an existing virtual disk.
Less back button. Next greater button Alt+N.
Now hit next.
Unavailable. Existing disk file grouping. Edit Alt+F blank. Browse. Button
Tap to
Alt+R.
browse and hit enter.
Browse file. Open can up address. Search items. Command. Preview. Items view.
Tab to where your files are, and here we're going to go into the
Mac Os. Android. Mac Os. VM. All you need to have 5.
folder. Hit enter on that.
Items view list.
And look
10
for an
suggestions
ISO
available.
of Mac OS Catalina. Now, an ISO is like a disk file for virtual machines or to boot off a live CD, but it's much easier to use on a virtual machine with Mac OS. So I'm going to down arrow until I
Selected.
hear
Names Mac OS Catalina 10155 19F101 1 of 1.
that and hit enter on it.
Add hardware wizard dial less back but finish button.
Now hit the finish button.
VMware Workstation 16 player dialog convert existing convert button cancel but keep existing format.
Keep existing format. I once converted it in one of my old virtual machines and it slowed it down to a crawl.
Virtual machine setting.
I could have been doing something wrong, but for now, I just recommend you keep it as existing format. Okay, so there's one more thing we have to add.
Remove OK but cancel button, help button, tab control, prop disk, advanced, add button, add hardware.
You want to add a
CD/DVD drive 2 of 10.
CD/DVD drive. Hit enter on that.
Virtual machine set, remove button, alt plus R, OK but cancel, help tab control.
Now you're in the CD/DVD drive properties.
List device status grouping, connection group, combo box, auto detect collapse, use physical, advanced, connect, use physical drive, rate.
Where it says use physical drive, down arrow once until you hear
Use ISO image file, radio
use
button, check alt
ISO
plus
image
N.
file. Because what we're doing now is attaching the VMware Tools ISO, which allows the VM's resolution to be resolved, along with things like copy and pasting and connecting devices.
Use ISO image, browse, button, alt plus
tap
B.
to browse.
Browse for
And
open tab, edit,
navigate
search, edit,
to
command,
the
module,
VMware
toolbar,
Tools
organize.
ISO. I will link in the
Preview.
description.
Items view. Names. Mac OS 10. Mac OS 10.14 for Grace Blind Tech.vmx.ls.
That is
10
completely the
suggestions
wrong
about Zoom
location.
7 of 9. Virtual machines. Virtual. My docu. Gross gang. My doc. Gross. Items. VM. Items view list. Android. VMware Tools 13. Virtual machine. Add. Remove. OK button.
Okay.
VMware Works. Play virtual machine button. Alt plus L.
Now, close out of VMware Player and navigate to where you stored the virtual machine files. Not the ISOs, but the physical VMware configuration.
Start window. Search
For
window.
me,
Search box.
that's virtual machines
Virtual machines.
in my documents.
Virtual Linux Mint.
To find out, you
Folder,
open
my coding projects,
VMware
VMware.
Player.
VMware Mac OS
Navigate to the
10.14 for
virtual
Grace
machine.
Blind Play for edit list. Mac OS 10.14 for Grace Blind Tech 2 of 10. Virtual machine name. Play virtual machine. Edit virtual machines list. Mac OS 10.14 virtual machine name. Edit play virtual edit list. Mac OS 10
I can't
context
remember
menu. Power on setting. Rename. Remove from delete from power on P settings. S. VMware Workstation virtual machine. Play virtual machine button. All edit.
What I would
Virtual
do
machine settings
is,
dialog. Property page maximum recommend. VMware Workstation.
Actually, I forgot. I'm sorry. You're going to have to look that up.
Virtual name split button. Linux Mint name split. Linux Mac OS 10.14 for Grace Blind Tech checked 4 of 7.
There it is. So, open this file
Mac OS
location.
10.14 for Grace.
Now, we're looking for a file called your virtual machine name .vmx. Now, for me, the way to find file extensions is I shift F10 on the file and go to properties. It's usually about the third one down.
Mac OS 10.14 for Grace Blind Tech checked 4 of 4. Mac OS 10.14 for Grace Blind
shift
Tech
F10 on that
context
one.
menu open with properties
Properties.
are Mac OS 10.14 for Grace Blind Tech properties dialog. General property page type of file. VMware virtual machine configuration. .vmx.
There we
Opens
go.
with Mac OS
Alright,
10.14 for context menu.
Shift F10 on it, hit H for open with,
Notepad N.
and N for
And
notepad.
Mac OS
Go to the
10.1
very,
blank,
very
blank,
bottom.
carriage
Make
with
sure
blank.
you're at the bottom.
Blank.
And paste the code that I
Board smc.version
will link in the description.
Board ID equals Mac file hw.model smbios.reflectHost equals true. hw.model equals MacBook Pro 14. 3. Board ID equals Mac 551B86E 5744 E2003 smc.version equals 0.
So Control S to save and exit out of this. Now,
Mac OS
what
10.
we just did was tell VMware to tell the Mac that it is an actual Mac and not a virtual machine. So Alt F4 out of your VM files, and now
Folder view list.
go to
Reset VMware.
VMware and power on the Mac.
VMware Mac OS 10.14 for Grace Blind Play virtual unavailable. Mac
Now,
OS 10.14 for Grace
you'll
Blind
get a
Tech VMware
pop-up.
Workstation 16 player dialog cannot connect the virtual device at a 0. No button
Just
alt
hit
plus
no.
separate. Mac OS
We didn't attach
10.14 for
anything
Grace.
there. Now, you might think, uh-oh, I did something wrong. I don't hear anything. Or you might recognize with NVDA or JAWS around the screen and see that it's blank. What it is an Apple logo. Give it time, it's booting up.
Mac OS meeting controls
I'm gonna
window.
pause the
Dot to
recording
bottom.
while
More
it
drop
goes.
down closed. More drop down button. Menu. Pause recording and pause. I'll spend this meeting.
Now, while this boots up, I would like to talk about how to navigate the virtual machine. The way you do it is by hitting Control, Alt, right arrow to move forward, Control, Alt, left arrow to go back, Control, Shift, Alt, down arrow to interact with items, Control, Alt, Shift, up arrow to stop interacting with items, and Control, Alt, and then hit the spacebar twice to double tap on something. Control is your control key. Alt is your not your command key. What's the one to the left of it? I can't remember what that's called. And Windows is your command key. Option, that's what I'm looking for. Alt is your option key, and Windows is your command key. So to turn on VoiceOver, it would be Windows F5. Now, this is actually booted now.
Mac OS 10.1.
I'll recognize with the screen.
Car.
Whoops.
Content is not.
It is visible.
Content is not. Mac OS 10. Recognize. Player V. Installing on Catalina HD. About 16 minutes remaining.
Installing on Catalina HD. About 16 minutes remaining. Now, this means that it is installing Mac OS to a file on your host machine. It's not wiping your drive or anything. It's just installing Mac OS to a kind of large file on your host computer. Now, one thing you can do in this window, if you want to make sure that it's running, is Control-G to interact with the machine, and then Windows or Command F5. And in a minute, you should hear VoiceOver very, very quietly say, installer progress has no windows. To turn up VoiceOver, it's on the Windows machine, of course, Control-Alt equals, or Control-Option equals, if you're talking Mac terms.
VoiceOver on installer progress.
I hear VoiceOver, so I'm going to do that now.
Increase system volume.
And you should hear,
Installer progress has no windows.
installer progress has no windows.
Mac OS
Look at that,
10.14
folks.
for
It's
Grace Line Tech
VoiceOver,
VMware
and it's
Workstation
on-
16 player.
It's on your, what's it called? Windows machine. How cool is that? Okay, so it's going to take quite a while to install on Catalina HD, so I will be back when it is installed to Catalina HD.
Meeting Dr. More drop down buttons menu. Pause recording and pause space. This meeting is Mac OS 10. Pane.
Okay, so eventually your VM Mac will restart and you will get this gray screen like this. I think it's gray. Well, this blank screen, just wait about 10 seconds and then recognize with
Mac OS 10.
NVDA or JAWS, or wait to hear Siri speak. I'm going to recognize.
Layer. Welcome. In just a few steps, you can register and set up your Mac. Afghanistan, Aland Islands, Mac OS.
So it's giving us the countries list.
Pane.
Now, what you want to do is interact with the Mac. Wait for Siri to finish speaking if you can hear that.
Command F5 now to turn it on and set up your Mac. If you would like to learn how to use VoiceOver to set up your Mac, press the escape key.
Now, I know how to use VoiceOver, so I'm going to hit Command F5 or Windows F5. And that Control-Alt equals.
Increase system volume.
And now
Increase
I can
system
hear it.
volume.
So,
You are currently on a
as I
table.
said,
To enter this table,
Control-Alt
press Control
left
Option
arrow
Shift
goes
down
left,
arrow.
Control-Alt right arrow goes right, Control-Alt space is double tap, Control-Alt Shift down arrow, interact, Control-Alt Shift up arrow, stop interacting. Control-Alt equals turn up the volume. Okay, now, let's set this thing up.
Back, table, world map image. In just a few steps, you can register and set up your Mac. Work table, row in table,
Let's
row 1 of
choose
2, all
where I
island.
live. I'm going through all the things right now because mine's pretty far down.
Iran,
No,
Iraq,
not far enough.
U.S. outlying islands.
A little
You are
too far.
currently on Tuvalu, Uganda,
No.
Ukraine, United Arab Emirates, United Kingdom, United States.
United States. There
You
it
are
is.
currently on United States. Out of table.
Stop interacting.
Continue button.
Go to the next.
You are
Double
currently
tap
on
on
a
it.
button. To click this back button, customize setting, scroll area. In scroll, preferred languages. Language bullet, out of scroll.
That's just the language
Continue
and
button.
the keyboard
New
layout.
keyboard layout, US. You are currently back button. Learn more. You won't see this with every personal data use icon. You won't.
Okay.
Continue button.
Continue.
Press continue button. You are currently on a button. Continue back button. You can transfer information. Don't transfer any
Don't
information
transfer.
selected. Continue button. Email
tap
edit
on
text.
that.
Apple ID.
Now this is where you can
are
either
currently on
create an
email.
Apple ID.
Create Forgot. This Mac will be associated with your use different Apple ID. Back button. Continue. Dimmed. But continue. Back. This Mac. Forgot Apple ID or password. Button. Create new Apple ID.
Sign
button.
in.
Email. Edit text.
So
Blank.
I'm gonna pause
Mac
really
OS
quick.
10.
You are
Meet
currently
Dr.
on a
Bottom
text
button.
field.
More drop
To
down
enter
button
text in this
menu.
field,
Pause
type.
record and pause respect this meeting. Mac OS 10. Pane.
Okay, so I signed in with my Apple ID and I put in the verification code.
Terms and conditions. Use of your license. Back button. Agree.
Agree.
Button.
to
You
the
are currently on a
license.
button. I have read and agree to disagree. Agree. Button.
Agree.
Agree button. Password. Secure edit text. New password.
Now it's
You
asking
are currently on a
for
text field.
a
To enter
password
text
to
this
put
field,
in every
type.
time you turn
This is
on
a
your
secure
Mac.
text field.
I'm just gonna put in a simple one.
Verify password. Secure edit text. Continue button. Press continue.
And there's some
Mac OS
options
10.
there.
You are currently on a
I
button.
just leave them
This
as
item is
default.
dimmed.
It's allow your Apple ID to reset your password and password hint,
Pane.
but that is up to you.
Back. Setting up account.
So now it is setting up account.
You are currently on a text element. Busy. Progress. Setting up account.
I'll come back when
You are
it's done
currently on a
setting
text
up
element.
account.
Mac OS 10. Meet Dr. More drop down button menu. Pause record and pause respect this meeting. Mac OS 10. Pane.
Okay, so now I have finished that. So now it's
Express setup. You have signed into your Apple ID. GRACE. Learn more. But Mac feature. Allow maps. Mac help.
asking for
Continue
express
button.
setup, so I'm just
Press
going to continue.
button. You are currently on a button. To click this button, press Control Option Back button. About analytics. Help app developers and share craft. Help. Continue button.
That's
You
okay.
are
I'm
currently on
going
a
to
button.
share.
To click this button,
that.
press Control Option Space. Back button. Manage screen time. Continue
don't
button.
need
Press
screen time on a
continue.
VM.
Dim button. You are currently on a back. Enable Ask Siri. Checked checkbox.
Yep, I do want Siri,
Continue
so hit
button. Press
continue.
continue. Dim button. Back. Not now. Share audio record. Not now.
I'm not
Selected.
going to share
Not-
audio recordings,
Continue. But press continue.
and I'm going to go
Dim
to
button.
continue.
You are currently on a button. This item is dimmed. Store files from documents and desktop and all your files. Store photos and videos in iCloud Photos. Checked checkbox.
I'm
Unchecked.
gonna-
Store photos and video. All your files from store files from documents and desktop and iCloud Drive. Checked. Check all your back button. Continue button.
Continue
Press
there.
continue. Dimmed button. You are currently on a button. This
I
item is
don't
dimmed.
need to sync
Setup
photos.
assistant busy. Busy. Busy.
So now it's
Continue
setting up
button.
there.
Back but you can select auto, dark, light.
So now it's
You
asking
are
if you
currently
want
on a
light
text
mode,
element.
dark mode, or to switch between the two, depending on if it's light out.
Auto
I'm
toggle
going to
button.
choose auto,
Select
but it
light.
really doesn't
Dark-
matter because I'm
Continue
blind.
but press continue. Dimmed button. You are currently on a button. This item is dimmed. Setting up your back checklist showing steps to complete.
So,
100% progress
Now it's
indicator.
setting up, and soon we should be at the desktop. Now, I'm going to do a few more things. The next step I'm going to show you is optional,
Progress.
but that's okay. You don't have to do it. Or you can be like me and do it anyway.
Mac OS 10.14 for Grace. Pane.
So, when it's done, it's going to put you in the feedback window. I'm just going to close that because I don't really need to send any feedback. Where?
Mac OS
I don't
10
know where it
recognize.
is.
Result Finder. File. Edit. View. Go. Window. Help. Welcome to Feedback Assistant. Mon PM. Mac OS 10. Pane.
Welcome to Mac OS. VoiceOver is on.
There we go.
Finder. Desktop. VMware Tools. Volume. Feedback Assistant. Finder.
I'm gonna close
Desktop.
that.
VMware
Now.
Tools. Volume.
Hit Windows space or Command. Command space and type system.
Selection. Y. S. M.
This will
Finder.
open system
VMware
preferences.
Tools. Volume. System preferences. Apple ID button. Family share. General. Desktop. Dock. Mission. Siri. Spotlight. Language. Notification. Internet. Users and accessible. Screen time. Extension. Security and software update button.
Look for software
You
update
are
and double
currently on a
tap on
button
that.
inside of a scroll area. Press loading software update window toolbar. You are currently on a toolbar. To interact with the image Mac 13 upgrade more info. Another update is more in text. Software up automatically advanced help and software up text use more info button. Another update more in text use of this software update. This Mac is enrolled
Look
in the
for
Apple
the
Pay software
details
button.
button. Double tap
You are
on that
currently in dialog. Restore defaults button.
and hit Restore Defaults. Now this will unenroll you
Application,
from the
window,
betas
password,
so that
secure edit
when
text
you
as keyboard focus,
update,
system
you have to
preferences.
put in your password, it will update you to
Details
the
button.
regular
You are currently on a button. This item is dimmed.
version and not the betas.
This Mac software your Mac software update image.
So Command key to
You
get
are
out of
Finder,
there.
desktop, VM,
Type
stop,
it in
selection
again.
replaced. Finder, desktop,
And now
VMware Tools
you can
volume.
go in and upgrade to Mac OS
Spotlight
Monterey.
busy. You are currently on a volume. Software up. Your Mac last checked. Software. Your Mac software update image. Finder, desktop, VMware, Finder. Spots S. Is T S. Finder, desktop, VMware Tools volume. You are currently on a volume.
So it should open again.
VMware Tools volume. System preferences 1 new item. VMware Tools volume. Finder. VMware
Caps lock off. Caps lock on. Caps lock off.
System preferences 1 Grace tab app family preference pane in extend secure software network software
You
update
double
button.
tap on Software Update.
You are currently in software image Mac OS 12.5 upgrade now
There we
button.
go. Upgrade now.
Press upgrade now dimmed button. You are currently in a window. Zoom toolbar software downloading Mac OS Monterey.
So it is
You are
now
currently on a
downloading.
text 0% progress indicator.
And for
are
now,
currently on
I'm
a
just
progress
going to
indicator.
pause the recording until it downloads.
Mac OS tool meeting Dr. More drop down bus menu. Pause recording and pause this meeting.
Recording
Mac
in
OS 10
progress.
pane.
One system dialog displayed.
Okay,
Enter
so
password. Secure edit
what
text.
happened was
Enter
it took
password.
a while, but it finally decided to let me update. So I have to put in my password because it
Install
went to
Mac
sleep
OS
on me.
Monterey.
And now it says install Mac OS Monterey.
To set up the installation of Mac OS Monterey, click continue. Continue
So I'm gonna hit
button.
continue.
Press agree button. Disagree agree button.
Agree.
In alert dialog agree button.
Agree again.
Continue back button grid. You are currently
That's the hard drive
continue,
selection.
dimmed button. Select the disk with grid. In grid, there is not enough free space on the selected volume to upgrade the OS. An additional 20.14 gigabytes is required. You are currently on a text
I'll be
volume.
OS
right
10
back.
more drop down button menu. Pause record and pause this meeting.
Recording in
Mac OS 10
progress.
pane.
Okay, so I just deleted some stuff on this, and now it should be better. That was because I hooked it up to my Apple ID, and I have a lot of stuff in iCloud. So you want to select Catalina HD.
Out of back, continue, dimmed button, dimmed.
hit continue.
Back, grid 1 item selected. Mac OS Monterey, grid 1 item selected. In grid 1 item selected. Catalina HD, 73.73 gigabyte free. Out of back, continue, dimmed button.
Why
You
is
are
it dimmed
dimmed.
still?
Back, grid 1 item select. In Catalina HD, 73.73 gigabyte free. Group 1 of 1. You are currently on a group. Out of back, continue, dimmed. You continue, dimmed button. Back, grid 1 Mac OS Monterey. Mac OS install Mac OS Monterey. You are currently Finder. System preferences. Install Mac OS Monterey. Mac OS Monterey will be installed on the disk Catalina HD. Grid 1 back. Continue. Dimmed button.
I'm going to
You are currently on a
go
button. This item
back.
is dimmed. Back. Dimmed button. Dimmed. Grid 1 Mac OS zoom minimize close
I'm going to
dimmed.
start
You
over.
are currently on a button. Quit install Mac OS. In alert. Continue installing. Default button. Mac OS grid 1 item select back. Continue. Dimmed button. Dimmed. You are
I'm having
quit install
trouble.
Mac OS. Continue and quit button. Finder. VMware Tools volume. System prep more info. Upgrade now. 12 point upgrade. Mac OS image. Software tool. Soft image. Mac OS 12 upgrade now. But press upgrade now button. You install Mac to set continue button. Press agree button. Disagree button. I have disagree but agree button. Continue back but Catalina HD back button. Continue button. Press continue. Application window password.
There
Secure
we
edit
go.
text as
Now
keyboard
enter your password.
Install
There's
Mac
it.
OS Monterey. Install Mac OS Monterey. Window. Cancel button. Cancel button. 1.3% progress indicator. You are currently
So
on a
now
progress
it is
indicator.
installing Monterey. So you're off of Catalina.
Mac OS 10 Dr. More drop down button menu. Pause record and pause.
So after it downloads, you should get a pop-up asking you to close all other applications. Now, you can do this because it's just closing what you have open in the virtual machine. So So I'm going to double tap.
Closing applications. Dim. Closing applications. Dim default button.
It says it's closing.
Closing Mac OS Monterey.
And now it is restarting and installing Mac OS Monterey. I will let you see a tiny bit of this process. Yeah, that should be enough. It's just restarting and installing Mac OS Monterey. While it's doing this, I'd like to apologize for all the errors and crazy things you see in this video. Crazy things being like storage errors and pauses of the recording. But you know what? It's the only way I know how to do it right now, so I'm just going for it. Alright, I'll see you when it has finished installing.
Mac OS 10. Stop. Pause recording.
Eventually, you will get a screen that looks like this.
Apple logo. 33%. Progress indicator. About 9 minutes remaining. About 9 minutes remaining.
So just wait until this finishes.
Mac OS 10. Stop. Pause recording. Alt+P. Button.
Eventually, it'll ask you to put in your password. And boom, you are on Monterey.
Software update window. Back, forward, show all, searched out of software update.
I'll show you that.
Intact software update, out of software update.
See?
Currently on toolbar, software update.
There's nothing there. Okay. Command Q to get out of there.
Finder, desktop group. You are desktop group.
And there's only one more thing that you need to do to get your Mac OS VM all set up and ready.
Mac OS 10. Stop. Pause recording.
Begin interacting with the contents of this image. Press Control Option Shift down.
Okay, so look for your
VMware Tools volume.
VMware Tools and double tap on it.
Now in VMware Tools icon view collection.
Interact with this and look for Install VMware Tools. Double tap on that.
Installer. Introduction. Destination select. Installation type.
Leave everything as default
Summary. Image. Go back. Continue. Button.
and double tap on Continue.
Change install location. Go back. Button. Install. Button.
Double tap on Install.
Button. Continue. Password application. Untype. Install software. Cancel. Button. Install software. Default. Password secure edit text.
Type in your password.
Installer. Install VMware application. Alert. System dialog. Installer would like to administer your computer. Open security.
That's okay. Open Security Preferences.
Installer would like to administer your computer. System preferences is launched in the background. You are currently on a button. To click installer would like to administer your don't allow OK button.
Hit OK.
Installer. Install VM. Continue. Go back. Install time remaining. About a minute. You are currently on a text element. Finder. System. Open security preferences. System security and general. Selected file.
Go to that System Preferences tab.
Firewall. Privacy. Login. Change password. Require password after 5 minutes after sleep. Show set lock. Disable allow apps downloaded from.
Look for
App Store. Identify system software. Allow. In button. System software from help button. Help advanced. Click the lock.
Click the lock to make changes and double tap on that.
Help button. In dialog. System preferences. System preferences. System preferences is trying to image. Enter your Grace Davieri. 1 character. Password. Secure edit text.
Enter your password.
On the text field. To enter window. Help button. Closing dialog. Help button. Advanced. Click the lock. Allow button. System App Store and identify system software from developer VMware Inc. Allow button.
Hit Allow.
In dialog. Restart button. Not now button. Restart button.
And hit Restart.
Authentic installer. Install VMware Tools window. OK alert. To install OK default button. To install this software, you must restart your computer. Click Restart to complete. OK.
And hit OK.
Restart default button. Go back.
Come on, restart.
Default button.
There we go. Now let that restart. Okay. Eventually it'll put you back on the lock screen. So type in your password again. And there's only one more step. And it's a completely visual step. Let's let this load here.
Welcome to Mac OS. VoiceOver is on. System preferences, security and private toolbar. You are currently
Get out of
Finder.
everything.
VMware Tools window. Icon view collection. Spotlight.
Hit Command Space and type Terminal.
L.
Then hit enter.
VMware Tools, window, icon queue, collection, terminal. Raised Navigiri, CSH, 80 times.
Then copy paste another code that I'll put. I need to
Map. Start with and even untitled. Sudo/library. Notepad dialog. Don't save. Mac
There we
OS
go.
campaign.
Sudo/library/application/support/VMware/.
change it to the resolution of your computer.
0, 0, 0, 2, 9, 1, 2, 0, 0, 0.
You can find that in settings.
2 space 0 8 8 0 space 0 8 0 1 3 0 0 0 space
And hit enter.
password.
Type in your password.
New line. Requesting resolution. Effective resolution.
And now you have a full screen Mac VM. Congratulations! After you hit Command Q out of terminal, you officially have your own Mac OS virtual machine.
Mac OS 10.
Let me just power this down
Stop recording.
and stop the recording. This is Grace from Grace Blind Tech saying peace out.